welcome back. Several female high school athletes in Connecticut are challenging a state policy that allows transgender athletes to compete in girls' sports. Now, the lawsuit claims that the trans athletes have an unfair advantage. Two transgender runners named in the action now want to be named as defendants in that lawsuit. And helping them with that is American Civil Liberties Union attorney Dan Barrett. And we're going to learn more from him now about this lawsuit and what happens next. You're the legal director for the ACLU in Connecticut right now.
I am.
Well, Dan, thanks for being here. All right, so where does this stand right now? Why in particular did they want to be named defendants in the suit?
So that's a sort of a legal technicality. Really what's happening here is we want the athletes to participate, to have their voices heard in the action. And so it so happens that the three girls have sued a variety of schools and also the athletic conference that governs high school sports in Connecticut.
CIAC?
CIAC. And CIAC is going to be defending the policy, and my clients, Terry and Andrea, have the same sort of interest in the suit. So if the plaintiffs prevail, if these three girls who have sued prevail, Terry and Andrea will be barred permanently from running track in high school.
Terry and Andrea, what are their full names and what's their story?
Well, so one of them is a minor, so I don't want to use her full name.
Oh, I see, okay.
But anyway, they happen to both be seniors. They're up here in the Hartford area. They're high schoolers, and they love running, and they've been running all through high school. And they're at a very competitive level. They train very hard, and they've participated all throughout their high school careers. And
what have you learned in your research for this about the impetus on the part of the CIAC to have this policy?
Well, there's a number of reasons for the policy. I mean, the first is fundamental fairness. We want people to be treated as their gender identity expresses itself. And so just on a kind of fairness level, what you don't want to do is have students come to school, be treated as their gender, but then somehow after hours when practice starts or competition starts, they get treated differently. The other really
is this the area where the area of practice is where this came up? It wouldn't have come up in competition, actual competition?
Same thing for competition. We don't want there to be any difference. When students come to school and they say, I'm a girl or I'm a boy, that's the way we want to treat them consistently. By the way, both federal and state law would mandate the same thing. So Connecticut has very strong protections for people's gender identity in all areas of life, including in education. So CIAC's policy is very much in line with what we've decided to do here in Connecticut.
How's this compare with the debate over the bathroom situation, where people felt uncomfortable with having trans people come into the bathroom that would be used by somebody who wasn't a trans?
So I think at the root, what you see is the same sort of impetus to try to keep trans people out of normal everyday life. High school athletics are a great part of a kid's education. Athletics performs a really useful role, and it teaches kids how to work hard, to compete, to train. So in every aspect of life here in Connecticut, we want kids who happen to be trans to be treated on the same basis as everyone else. And so whether that's bathroom access, classroom access, access to sports, it's all the same thing. We want to make sure that they are welcomed here in Connecticut and allowed to just be kids.
And what about this advantage claim, or disadvantage claim, compared with a trans athlete who comes into girls' sports?
So that claim really depends on a bit of essentialization. So it assumes that all trans people are the same. And just as you and I learned, probably in high school sports, people come in all different shapes and sizes. They have all sorts of different advantages, both physical, but also how well does the athlete train? Does the athlete have access to anything outside of school, for example, a private coach, that sort of thing? Any theory that says that a trans athlete is automatically endowed with some kind of advantage, really, it makes a stereotype about people that just isn't true. Trans athletes, just like non-transgender athletes, come in all shapes and sizes. Some of them wake up tired in the morning, some of them trained really hard, some of them didn't. The outcome is going to vary just as with everybody else.
Do you think our society is now becoming more comfortable, if you want to use that word, with and losing some of the resistance they might have had initially when the transgender situation came into our lives? That this is what's happening to people because they're they want to be the other gender because that's the way they feel that's who they are.
That's exactly right. I think you're right. I think that our society, particularly here in Connecticut, since we have enacted all of these strong legal protections for people's gender identity, and these are years old, we came to this realization a while ago, and as we all know, everyday life in Connecticut continued without anything seismic happening. The seismic happening was that trans people feel welcome and they're treated on an equal basis under the law, which is exactly the way we want it to be.
Well, we're very interested in seeing how this turns out. I hope you'll keep us in touch.
Certainly will.
Thank you, Dan Barrett from the ACLU. And up next, right after a quick break, looking at the race for president through the eyes of Sacred Heart University professor Gary Rose, who you will recall wrote a book about the 2016 election. What does he see this time for the incumbent, President Trump, and for the Democrats who want to be his challenger? Stay with us.